Have you ever felt like, in certain environments, you need to shrink yourself? Like you can't show everything you know, everything you are? That being good at something might come off as arrogance? As if the simple act of standing out were somehow offensive? From an early age, we're taught that we need to be humble. But the problem is, what they often call humility is nothing more than a disguised request for you to dim your light. The so-called mandatory humility. The one that forces you not to shine too brightly, not to speak of your achievements, not to recognize your own worth. You do something incredible, and you feel obligated to say, "Oh, it was nothing. I got lucky. There are people way better than me." And if by any chance you say, "I'm good at this," you're instantly seen as arrogant. But why does that bother people so much? The answer is simple. Confidence exposes the insecurities of others. And when someone walks into a room with their chest open, claiming who they are without fear of judgment, they become a mirror for those who spend their lives hiding. And that's where envy is born. There's an interesting case in the football world that illustrates this perfectly. Nicklas Bendtner, a fairly average player who had a decent career in Europe, played for Arsenal, moved through a few clubs. Nothing extraordinary. One day, in an interview, someone asked him what he thought of himself as a player. His response, "I see myself as one of the best strikers in the world." That's it. It was enough for him to become a global joke. The internet went after him. Memes were created. He was nicknamed Lord Bendtner, and people ridiculed him. Why? Because he dared to say something bold, and didn't deliver enough to back it up. But let's be clear, humility also has its place. True humility. The kind that allows you to learn, to listen, to grow. The kind that understands no one knows everything, that there's always something new to absorb. When you walk into a new environment, where no one knows you, where you haven't proven yourself yet, humility is your greatest ally. Arrive with respect, without demanding it. Read the room, understand the space. That builds presence. The problem is when humility becomes a mask for fear. When you don't say who you are because you're afraid of what others might think. When you hide what you do for fear of making others uncomfortable. And in that process, you fade away. You shrink yourself to fit into the space others are willing to give you. But no one will give you the space you don't allow yourself to occupy. And no one will respect you if you don't show why you deserve respect. There comes a moment when you need to pound your chest and say, "I know what I'm doing." And it's not about arrogance, it's about ownership. Imagine a doctor about to perform major surgery on you. You're nervous, insecure, worried. Then he walks in and says, "Relax. I've done this surgery 300 times. Never lost a patient. You're in good hands." Now imagine if he said, "I'm not sure this will work. Let's hope for the best." Would you trust him? Of course not. His confidence gives you confidence. His posture brings you peace. And that's what you need to learn to do for yourself. Being confident in what you do, speaking firmly, owning your achievements, that's not a sin. The real sin is hiding your talent because you fear judgment. And there's more. Be careful not to appear too perfect, because exaggerated perfection creates distance. When someone seems too good, too clean, too flawless, the human mind tends to distrust them. We need to see flaws in others to relate. Showing vulnerability strategically brings people closer. It shows humanity. That's why the greatest leaders in history didn't hide their mistakes. They owned them and used them as strength. The key is balance. It's not about pretending to be small so you don't make others uncomfortable. And it's not about inflating yourself to seem bigger than you are. It's about having clarity about who you are, what you're good at, and what still needs improvement. Having the courage to say, "I'm good at this," when it's true, and the humility to say, "I need to work on this," when necessary. True charisma is born from authenticity. When you know yourself, stand firm, and stop trying to please everyone, you become magnetic. And it all begins when you decide to stop hiding. When you understand that your light doesn't dim anyone else's, and that shining isn't about vanity, it's about presence. You don't have to shrink to be accepted. You don't have to pretend you're not good to fit in. You don't have to dim your greatness to make others feel comfortable. The Psychology of Samuel invites you to be whole, to speak the truth about yourself, To take up space with confidence without fearing how it might offend those living in the shadows. Because at the end of the day, you'll be judged no matter what. So let it be for being real, for being authentic, for being you,